What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this week's edition of the Turbo and 2K show. And this week we're going to break down every single divisional NFL playoff game. So if that's what you're in for, lock it in because you have found the Turbo and 2K show. All right, 2Ks, how we doing, brother?
Good. Can't complain. Going to football this weekend.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a we've talked about it from time to time. Coming from where we were to where we are now. Where early on in this thing we were, there wasn't any sports, so we were just getting his content anywhere we could, and now we're spoiled. We have football all the time, and even with college wrapping up, and if we do have time, we will jump in on the national title game and give you our reaction and everything to that. But yeah, 2Ks, we got a lot of football to cover, and it's getting closer and closer to that Super Bowl time. So obviously the games are getting a little bit more heated, the competition a little bit more stout, unless you're playing Aaron Rodgers, and had some injuries, had some very, very significant injuries. So we'll jump into all of that. And if for those of you guys watching live, go ahead and drop your name in the comments. I'd love to say what's up, feature your comment on the show. And for those on the replay, go ahead and click like, subscribe, and comment on what's your favorite part of the show. What part of the show kind of tripped your trigger, or you disagreed with or agreed with? Because I'd like to hear about it. So, 2Ks, how about we just jump into this and kind of go down sequentially as the games came on TV. So first up, Ravens at the Bills. Now, we all know that the Bills, this is uncharted territory for a lot of our viewers that haven't been around for many years. That going back to the Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas era of the Buffalo Bills. So definitely a big, awesome time to be part of Bills Mafia. So 2K, give me your first impressions of how the game went. Were you shocked at who won? And just break it down the only way that you can.
First off, no, I was not shocked at all. I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks that I thought Buffalo, has a pretty legit chance at making the Super Bowl and, possibly being the best team in the AFC. Just the way that Josh Allen's been playing this season, and the defense stepping up, and obviously the addition of Stephon Diggs has just been huge for him offensively. But I was a little bit worried going into the game last night for him, just because Baltimore kind of been, arguably the hottest team in all of football the last few weeks. Closing out the season and getting into the playoffs, and then what they did last week against Tennessee, how good they looked. But to me, the most surprising thing of the game last night was just how they were able to, basically stop Lamar Jackson to nothing as far as in the rushing game. I mean, this is a guy that, putting up triple-digit rushing yards is, kind of the normal for him. And I get it that he got hurt and we didn't see a whole lot of him in the second half. But I think even if he is healthy, Buffalo puts that game away easy, just the way that the game plan that they had, set up for him last night, as far as they were the interior, defensive line, they were rushing right into his face and trying to force him, not to be able to step up in the pocket, but to try to force him to the outside. And I think that that's kind of the blueprint on how you defend Jackson going forward is, if you try to rush him off the edge and you allow him to open up running lanes in the middle, he's going to just, he's going to run all over you. And last night, the way that Buffalo, rushed him right pretty much head on to him, he really had no open running lanes the entire night.
Yeah, and it was leading into the game, all we heard about was Buffalo's kind of shoddy run defense as going up against Lamar Jackson and that running attack with Dobbins, and I'm pretty sure Ingram was not in the lineup, but Gus Edwards and all of their stable of running backs, including Lamar Jackson, because as we all know that he's pretty much the, to kind of coin a term, the straw that stirs the drink on that offense. And for the Bills to basically take that away, the whole entire running game, Lamar included, was quite a feat. Quite a feat because, like you said, Baltimore was coming in as one of the hottest. Well, both teams actually were coming in two of the hottest teams in the NFL. And I think both teams, when you look at it defensively, did exactly what they wanted to do. However, I just think Buffalo made a couple more plays. Obviously, that big interception, the 101 yard
Mm-hmm.
interception return for the touchdown was kind of the backbreaker. But yeah, I think even with that or without that, Buffalo wins, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
right there with you. I'm anytime especially a playoff team loses their starting quarterback is a big deal. And that's something that we'll
Mm-hmm.
obviously get into later on with the Browns and the Chiefs. But excuse me, it's a huge deal because this isn't the regular season. If you drop a game, it's not the end of the world. But I mean, you lose in the playoffs, you're done. It's win or go home. And yeah, I obviously with the score the way it was, defense was a premium for both teams. I mean, this was the lowest scoring game on the docket, I do believe. And yeah, if you're a fan of defenses and obviously a part of Bills Mafia, hashtag Bills Mafia, you got to see your. I'm pretty sure that we can put to bed the franchise quarterback. I'm not even sure it was really a debate, but last year compared to this year, as far as the steps that Josh Allen has taken, oh my God. And
Mm-hmm.
like we talked about last week with the acquisition of Stephon Diggs, I think it actually kind of tied a bow on that, and now we're seeing what he can do as compared to last year, without the obviously without Stephon Diggs, and but yeah, I wasn't shocked, but this was kind of the game that I wasn't sure. I'm pretty sure the Ravens went in favored in that game, even though it was in Buffalo. But it just goes to show you that how hot they were, and but yeah, both teams, offensively, defensively, were all hitting on all cylinders for both squads, and like I said, it wouldn't have shocked me if the Ravens won or the Bills won. I think this was probably the most even game of the weekend, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it produced some of the best football of the weekend just because of just because of the low score. So, but now, once we kind of unpack this, we'll talk about a little moving forward into next weekend and kind of give you kind of scratch that itch to kind of see who we're kind of favoring in these matchups. So, but yeah, like I said, it was and on top of that, kind of the disappointing part of that 2Ks is I was hoping that in Buffalo there would be snow, just
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, hell, it's Buffalo, it's playoff football. There was a little bit of snow in Green Bay, but we all know how Mr. Rogers plays in the snow. So that's actually
Yeah.
a huge that to me, out of everything in this docket that we're gonna go down, the Packers having in this we'll get into this in the next little segment here, but just going off the Bills and the weather, I was hoping there was snow, and just because it's kind of neat to see how teams adjust that aren't used to playing in the snow. Lamar Jackson came out and said he's never played in the snow, and I'm sure Josh Allen had going to Wyoming. I'm sure he had to have played in some
Oh,
snow.
absolutely.
So we've we've been through 2Ks this whole season where home field advantage really hasn't meant shit, but now
Mhm.
it's coming into play really big. So especially with some Aaron Rodgers came out and said that rushing through the tunnel. I think they had about 5 or 6 thousand fans in Green Bay. Said it sounded like 55,000 just because it had been so quiet there. So letting some of the fans back or into these playoff games as well as the weather, I think is going to be a big story going forward. So,
Mhm.
any little uh, anything else to mention on the Ravens and the Bills?
Yeah, the only thing I have, left to mention as far as with Buffalo is, obviously they're going to see Kansas City next week. Barring any setbacks as far as with Mahomes, we don't know. You know, I'm just going to kind of talk as far as looking at it as Mahomes is going to be out there. He's going to be
Yeah.
playing next week. He'll be ready to go. Buffalo right now, and basically the way that they've played the whole second half of the season and in the first two weeks of the playoffs here, they're very one dimensional as far as they want to drop back and they want to throw the ball a lot, and there's really obviously no trust at all in their running game. Last night only had 32 total rushing yards.
Yeah.
That's going to have to change. They're going to have to get some type of a running game, and even if that means Josh Allen carrying the ball, over 10 times next week, they're going to have to be able to run the ball against Kansas City, because if they try to get into a shootout match against Mahomes, Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback, but he's not the Patty Mahomes style quarterback that can throw the ball 40 times, and he doesn't have the receivers and the weapons that Mahomes has also across the board. So they do not want to get into a shootout with them. They're going to want to run the ball, try to play that clock management game, and keep the ball out of their hands as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
So 32 rushing yards, that's the only thing. Yeah, they won the game, and that's all that matters. But looking forward into next week's matchup, they're going to have to run the ball a little bit and try to hold on to the ball as much as they can next week.
Yeah, it's I think everyone that watches football, can kind of agree that the the best defense against Patrick Mahomes and that just juggernaut of an offense is keep the ball away. And
Mm-hmm.
you're very right when it comes to Buffalo all season. They've just relied on the passing game, even though I'm pretty sure Moss is out for the playoffs, but they do have Devin Singletary. They do have established backs that can tote the rock. So it's not like they're running backless. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But is it in their offense to feature a back 30 times? Or I'm not saying just one back in particular. Like you said, a big part of that offense is Allen running the ball, and he for his
Mm-hmm.
size is amazingly agile and can we actually saw him try to last week uh, try to make a run and actually pass the ball. So good things come from that, and I'm sure that. And those you're right. If it does come down to a shootout, pretty much it's going to be a big advantage for Kansas City. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next one is Rams and Packers. Rams and Packers. With the 2Ks, this one featured the number one scoring offense against the number one scoring defense, and as we've all, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that probably the last 5 or 6 times that I've heard this matchup, the offense always wins. You look at
Mm-hmm.
some of the matchups we had in the super, in the past Super Bowls where it's the number one offense against the number one defense, and sure, it usually always comes to for whatever reason, especially lately. With all the now you go back 25 years ago, that's a different story. That's a different story. You look at the even I can't remember what year it is, but the Trent Dilfer led Ravens. That was probably the last time we saw a really stout defense win a Super Bowl. Now you could argue that the Broncos with Peyton Manning was probably the last one, which yeah, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. But when it comes down to actual quarterbacking skills, I'll take Peyton Manning over Trent Dilfer any day. But it am I wrong though? 2Ks. It seems like that's been
No,
kind
no,
of
no,
the.
no. And I mean, that's the way that games are. I mean, the rules of the game benefit the offense. I mean,
Mhm.
that's how it is. I mean, offense is what puts fans in the stands, and that's what sells tickets. And it's an offensive game at the end of the day. Yeah, absolutely. You want to have a good defense to fall back on. I mean, who doesn't want to have a good defense, and especially in the playoffs and playoff football where points are hard to come by. You want to have a very stout defense. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's offense, and you look at what Kansas City was able to do last year. That was basically it was Kansas City versus San Francisco's defense last year, and
Mhm.
Kansas City was the team that came out on top. And now looking forward, looking into this year, Green Bay to me is kind of that version of Kansas City from last year. You got Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball all over the place, looking like Aaron Rodgers back in his prime. This is like the best version of Aaron Rodgers that we've ever seen this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's making shit look. Even when you watch Pat Mahomes, he makes the quarterback job look very very easy. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking right now, that the Packers have been the most consistent team in the playoffs right now. They're the
Mm-hmm.
most complete team in the playoffs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the scary part is I don't think that Aaron Rodgers played his best game against the Rams. And so far, granted the Bucks and Saints aren't done yet. While we are recording, it's actually playing right now. But out of the four games, this was the one that had the most lopsided score. And to be honest with you, 2Ks, there was probably three passes dropped by Valdez Scaling that probably should have been touchdowns that weren't.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
and the big one to Lazard too.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, there was,
Yeah.
you know, I would say probably three combined drops that could have been touchdowns. And so
Mm-hmm.
the score really wasn't as indicative as what the game played out because what was it? The Packers scored on their first five drives or some shit like that, and
Yeah.
they Aaron Donald was a non-factor. However, he wasn't 100% healthy. But if excuse me, if the stat I read, he had like two pressures and zero sacks. So, like I said, he was pretty much a non-factor, and that the shocking part to me out of all of this is now, granted, the Rams' offense isn't stellar. This is the team that they're more on the Rams and Bills level or the Ravens and Bills level where they rely on their defense way more than a lot of like the Packers. The Packers can outscore you. However, the Packers defense has been surprisingly stout here the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the most shocking part out of any of the playoff games so far is just how dominant they've been. Granted, like I said, the Rams offense aren't world beaters by any means, but it is going to whoever comes out of the Bucks and Saints game is up for a really 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 big challenge because like I said, this might be the best Packers defense that Aaron Rodgers has had, and
Mm-hmm.
put on top of that, this might be the best rushing attack that Aaron Rodgers has ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like right when the Rams had kind of figured out a little bit of way to get pressure on Rodgers, next thing you know, he's dumping the ball and they I think they played three running backs, and it really didn't matter who was in the backfield because they were toting the rock. It seemed like 7 or 8 yards per clip, and then Jones breaks that really really long one right after halftime. So which just kind of opened the floodgates even more. So
Mm-hmm.
LaFleur's got these boys playing legit fucking football at the right time, and
Yeah.
I can't. And if you look at the head coaching matchup, it's kind of like student teacher, and so you would kind of think that both of them would kind of be on the same page with each other, but it was it wasn't even close. Like this game was never close. I mean, it kind
No,
of
there was
it kind of
every single
was,
time that
but yeah,
yeah
it
every
did
time that the Rams got something going, there was always an answer. The Packers had an
hmm
answer every
exactly.
single. I mean, there was a couple times in the game. I mean, right before halftime, the Rams have that drive and they score the touchdown and then the Packers come right back and they get a field goal right before half, and then at the end of the third quarter, Rams score a touchdown again to make it a one possession game. And next thing you know, it follows up with a long touchdown pass to Lazard that kind of
hmm
just, that ended the game right there. I mean, the Packers answered it. The Packers have been the best team in the NFL all season long. I mean,
Especially the
I know a lot of
NFC.
people might say Kansas City, but you look at Kansas City all the way through the second half of the season. There was one possession win,
hmm
and the Packers have really just kind of had their way with everybody. I mean, ever since the games that they played with the Buccaneers, where they just were demolished, and
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to them that week, but they were demolished. They went out the rest of the season. They had the one overtime loss to the Colts, towards the end of the season, but still played a good team, and the Colts are a very good football team
hmm
also. So that really wasn't that bad of a loss, but I mean, they took care of every single other team that they played against. So, and I remember, I think it was 2 weeks before the season, before the regular season was over, the week where they played the Titans, and they just blew them away. And I think
Yeah.
that kind of showed, everybody around the league, like this team, not only do they have the best player in football right now in Aaron Rodgers, but this is the best team in football. And so far, I mean, watching them last night in the playoffs against I heard about this Rams defense all week long
Oh
about
yeah.
how good they are.
Oh yeah.
And obviously there's with Aaron Donald injury, who knows how bad it was or it really is, but it really, I mean, only time I ever remember seeing Aaron Donald last night was when he got the 15-yard penalty,
Yeah.
called on him. Other than that, he really wasn't even a factor in the game. So, the Packers, they have Aaron Rodgers. He's doing his thing. They have, three running backs that they can throw at you. They lost arguably the best left tackle in the game, and their offensive line really has been, arguably the best offensive line in all of football. And then, like you said, their defense. I mean, this is the best defense that I think Aaron Rodgers has ever seen. So,
Yeah.
to me, with what we've seen so far, this Super Bowl this year is Green Bay's to lose.
Yeah, and I, no offense to Case, but you didn't, in my opinion, you didn't even mention the MVP of the Packers in Devontae Adams. And
Yeah,
we've all
yeah.
known he's been their number one receiver for years. But to take the
He's the best
next
wide receiver in the
step,
league.
yeah, hands down, right now, and that's a huge step because as we just demolished the Packers in the draft for not drafting a receiver in a very wide receiver heavy draft. Maybe they were onto something. Maybe they knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're sitting here just rambling about it, and LaFleur's got these boys primed and ready to go for the next round, I'm sure. But yeah, we all, I guarantee us and every single media outlet was just bagging on the Packers for not taking a receiver. And just imagine what that offense would be like if they had. Even though I really don't think they need it by any means, but they've had Lazard stay healthy, and they've had some of these St. Brown stay healthy, and obviously they knew what the hell they were doing. Let's I don't Matt LaFleur.
I think a huge factor that plays into it is, I mean, you look at even some of the other MVP seasons that Aaron Rodgers has had throughout his career. When's the last time he had a tight end? I think with the addition of Tanyan,
Yeah.
that's been one of the big additions to that offense. Everybody knew what they were going to get out of Devontae Adams. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no surprise that we're calling him the number one receiver in the NFL. I mean, I know a lot of people going into the season, probably would say Michael Thomas or
And Thomas has
DeAndre
been
Hopkins.
banged up this year, so I mean that's
Yeah,
but
but Devontae Adams was definitely in. He's always been in the conversation, and this year he's just separated himself, as the guy.
oh yeah.
But yeah, you look at the addition of Tanyan, Lazard being healthy, Valdez-Scantling, it seems like he's making a big play here and there. And then obviously with the running backs, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, even the rookie and A.J. Dillon. This, as far as complete team across the board, there's not a team in the NFL that's as good as these guys.
No, I 100% agree. 100% agree. But let's flip the script back to the Rams, and where do they go with their quarterback situation? I mean, what do they do? What do they do? I mean, he broke his thumb, and honestly, probably came back too quick. They have a whole stable of fucking running backs, and very serviceable receivers. They have a great defense. Is this like a Chicago Bears 2.0 type situation? I mean,
yeah.
That to me, that's what it kind of seems like. Because Goff is not, and now don't get me wrong, I was a huge Jared Goff fan, huge, and he just hasn't produced. I mean, they paid him, and it's not like it. He's been serviceable. But I want to say he threw for less than 180 yards yesterday. Cam Akers came back and was a very, very big part of that offense. Was the thumb completely healthy? I don't know. But there's definitely some... That defense, like the Bears, is too good to go and just flush this window that's closing season by season. Because Aaron Donald's not getting any younger. He's by far one of the best defenders in the league. So do they... Now, granted, they made the playoffs, so they're going to be further back in the draft. Do they package something together and jump up to get like a Justin Fields that Todd McShay has at 15th overall? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's definitely something they're going to have to address.
I think it's a legitimate question. I mean, they've invested a lot of money there throughout that team, and then a lot of money to just go ahead with a like you just said, a serviceable quarterback. That's what Jared Goff is at this point. I mean, if it wasn't for the stinger that Wolford had last week, there's probably a good chance that Goff's not even starting this game.
100%.
Green Bay last night, or and Wolford started game one of the playoffs, and obviously after the injury, Jared Goff came in and he threw the ball and was fine. They were able to win that game and beat Seattle, but if he was able to come in and play that game, then why wasn't he starting that game? Something.
I wondered that too.
Is there something going on? Is there something going on in the big picture? And I've said it all season long. I don't think Jared Goff's a very good quarterback. I just don't. I don't think he is. I think that this team's relied on their defense being as good as it is, like the number one scoring defense in the NFL. You kind of look back a couple years ago to that Chicago Bears team, when they were in the playoffs, and obviously they lost the game with the Cody Parkey missed field goals.
Yep, the quadruple
at the end
doink.
of it, but that was what got them there. Their defense was so good, but they were going with Trubisky as their quarterback. So. Yeah, and that's kind of what this reminds me of here. I just don't think Jared Goff is the guy. So, I think come draft time, you should be looking for a different option.
Yeah, and then whether it means packaging Jared Goff with picks or wherever to go to, say, New England. New England loves to gather picks and drop down. So if you're able to pull something off like that, I'm just throwing shit right off the top of my head here, ladies and gentlemen. But could it happen? Sure. But it's definitely something that this defense is too good. There's too good of weapons for everything and the coach is too good. Sean McVay's too good.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jared Goff isn't far removed from, playoff success. So I'm not sure what happened. And P.S. by the way, we're going into the third quarter of the Bucks and Saints tied at 13 to kind of give you guys a frame of where we are if you are watching the replay. And if you are watching the replay or watching live, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you get subscribed. Click the like, drop a comment. We love to hear from you because interaction is always, always good. But no, I just wanted to throw that in to kind of wrap up the Rams Packers because, like I said, that Rams team's too good. That Rams team is too good
Yeah,
to just shit the bed like this.
and one positive note that the Rams have going for them, looking into next season, is Cam Akers. I believe is going to be a stud running back next season. I think was just what he was doing here, and once the Rams finally figured out who their guy was, I mean, throughout the season they kind of shuffled 3 different guys in and out of there. But at the end of the season, and last week with the first game of the playoffs, they definitely picked Cam Akers as he was their guy, and he looks like he's definitely top 5, top 6, top running back in all of the league going into next season, I believe.
It's very similar to what the Lions did when they actually started giving the ball to Swift as much as they did. Why it took them so long to do that, hell, I don't know. But you saw an emerging running back. And it's the same thing with Cam Akers is that I don't like maybe hell, you could even throw the Colts in there with Jonathan Taylor. The longer the season progressed, the more they gave Taylor the ball and the better you saw that team be more balanced and you actually got to see what Swift, Akers, and Taylor could do. And I think the one thing that you're going to see moving forward next year is these 3 guys be featured a whole lot more. And so fantasy football players, there's your turbo tip of the week right there. And make sure you draft them before 2Ks does, which is always a positive. So at least for me, probably not for you, but it's always fun to draft in front of you. But with that being said, that's a horrible segue to the Browns and Chiefs, but let's go for it. This was a closer game. Well, I'm pretty sure I tweeted or did a short saying that I'm pretty sure it was a short that, of course, no one could have predicted Mahomes going out with the concussion. And if you're a Chiefs fan, thank goodness they had enough points before he left because they were able to hold through. Excuse me, but I really did think this game was going to be close, which it was. I thought that if the Browns could run the ball efficiently and often, they had a very good chance to win. And I still got to give it up to Baker, even though I'm not the biggest Baker fan. But the first 2 playoff games, last week and this week, he didn't fuck anything up. Anything up, and we were streaming when that game was going on last week. And what did I say? Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, so Baker can't fuck it up. And they didn't do that. Mm-hmm. They still threw the ball, and Baker threw 0 interceptions. Now, what the hell happened to the Steelers is a whole other story. We actually probably don't even have time in this stream to talk about that. But we'll get. I'm sure in the postseason we will get into that. So, but
looking at that game last week, and yeah, the right thing to do is obviously keep the clock running. But man, the way that Pittsburgh was scoring there in the second half, and the way Roethlisberger was going, I mean, shit, he threw for over 500 yards. They needed Baker Mayfield to make some throws, and he did what he had to do. He made the plays that he had to make. Shit, he threw for 3 touchdown passes last week. So
he had a great game.
Yeah, and he played a great game today. I really do believe he played a great game today. It just didn't work out for them, obviously. I think Kansas City is all around the better team.
Oh yeah.
They had their opportunity though. I mean, Mahomes goes down with the concussion. They had the opportunity and I really think if they were able to make that stop and get one more possession, there's a good chance that game would have been different.
Well, I mean, you look at who actually won the game for them was their defense and Chad Henne, your boy.
Michigan man, Chad Henne himself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was in a Fire Hands chat watching a card break, and one of the guys had asked, is Chad Henne a Michigan product? And I responded with yes. And he goes, oh, well, Brady 2.0. So I immediately responded back, I think I'd pause on that one. And no more that I hit enter is when Henny threw that interception. And that was a horrible interception. There was
Yeah,
two
I don't know what the
dudes
fuck he
just
was doing there.
waiting. Like it's like he threw them the ball, and not
Yeah.
the Chiefs. I can't remember if it was Hill or whoever was running on the route. He didn't throw it to him. He threw it to the defender. And there was not one but two, and then there was one covering the receiver. So, and he had made great decisions, made great throws leading up to that point. And I'm like, wow. First of all, I didn't even realize Chad Henne was still in the league. Second of all, there's a reason why he's a backup, because he throws shit like that. However, you talk about some fucking stones to take that, what was it, 3rd and 14 and just take the ball and run with it. And comes up maybe, 2 or 3 inches short. Andy Reid has some fucking stones and goes for it just to ice the game. But you know what? That's Andy Reid, and that's the reason I love Andy Reid, is he's got, especially after the Super Bowl win now, he's got stones, man. I love it. Excuse me. Sorry for those listening. But no, I loved it. I loved every part of it. And because, if you're Andy Reid, you're up by, I think it was 5. With minute and change, it was under 2 minutes. You go for it on 4th and inches on I want to say it was really close to the 50-yard line, maybe just past, just past the 50. So if you do not make it, you give Baker great field position and ample time to go down and score. And Andy Reid says, nope. We're going to go for it anyway. And on top of that, he goes for it with Henne in the shotgun and boots him and throws. I think that was the most shocking part of everything. It's like, holy shit, are you kidding me? Because everyone in the stands, everyone that's sitting here watching on TV is like, all right, they're going to try to make him jump and then call a timeout, and then Andy Reid will decide what the fuck he really wants to do. Nope. Andy Reid says, you want to see some cool shit? Hold my beer. And holy cow. I don't know about you 2Ks, but I was blown the fuck away.
Yeah, I thought for sure that's what they were doing, was just gonna, try to get him to jump off, call the timeout, and then punt it and pin him back and make him go the length of the field to win it. So yeah, it shocked me, but yeah, Andy, that's kind of just been the way that Andy Reid called it his whole career. So
yeah, fuck it, why not?
He just said, fuck it, we're just gonna end it right now. Not even gonna give you a chance, and it worked out.
Yeah, and
kudos to them.
Not even putting a backup. I mean, if you're going to do something like that, you're like, all right, the backup quarterback. Most people don't even know he's still in the league unless you're a Chiefs fan. Doesn't even put him under center. Puts him in the shotgun. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that could go wrong. A bad snap, like we saw with, that's something we didn't even jump into or even talk about with the Ravens, is how bad the center exchange was, and the center could have bombed the ball over his head, and next thing you know, it's, obviously the Browns would have taken over on downs, but it could have been on a 30 or 25-yard line because the center airmails the damn thing. Or yet again, the pass could be incomplete. There were so many things that could have gone wrong. But I think that's the reason it worked, because no one thought he'd ever fucking do it. But it's Andy Reid, and they obviously have not watched Andy Reid his whole career. So, yes, did that take? Oh, Leonard Fournette is now in the tent. It looks like he was hobbling a little bit, but yeah, I'm sure everyone, obviously including the defense. I guarantee the defense had they thought the same thing we did, and yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But you know what? I really think that the NFL was so glad that the championship round was not the Bills and the Browns, just because either you'd have two passionate fucking fan bases, two probably the most passionate fan bases on the planet, but they would probably be the only ones to watch it. The rest of the rest of the football watching community wouldn't give a shit, and I would because I really like watching the Bills. They're my new favorite team to watch. Just because how I mean, first of all, Josh Allen's a beast, and all the
Mhm.
cool stuff that he does in his community and everything like that. They're just a good, wholesome team that I'm hashtag Bills Mafia all the way. But the Browns and Bills would have been probably the most not sought after game to watch. But now we have Chiefs and Bills, which I think is a way more better of a TV draw for the NFL. But I I got to give it up to Baker Mayfield. I really do. Just watching him from, we talked about the maturation process of Josh Allen, and I think the only maturation process that's even better or more advanced was with Baker Mayfield. 2Ks, if you remember Baker coming in the league, smart mouth, just putting everything out there. We really haven't seen that. He's more reserved. Obviously, we see him on a million fucking ads, but that's a whole different story. But the version of Baker the last 5 or 6 games of the season is, I think, or the reason the Browns drafted him. So, like the Bills have found their franchise quarterback, I think Baker solidified that, and he's done a good enough job to be their franchise quarterback. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just the whole season, really the whole season long, for him, it was just a whole different version of Baker that we got this year from last. I think everything, the expectations going into last season were so high for him. Kind of coming off of that rookie season where, he won the job and took over there and had a great
Mm-hmm.
rookie season. And then kind of that sophomore slump last year, the expectations were so high, and his performance was just so bad. And then, this year things it was just a different Baker. He wasn't. He did a lot of things last year, and I get it. Things tend to keep getting worse as especially when you're performing the way that he was last year. But then even with the media, he was so bad, and he always had some smart ass thing to say, and just the way that he matured this year and kind of just kept his mouth shut. Didn't say anything to set himself up to get pounded by the media.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of quiet, just played it quiet, and I think that's what made it such a better season for him. And you can't have your quarterback, basically saying all the shit that he was and arguing with everybody in the media like he was last season.
Yep.
And the focus for him was so much better this year, and I think that's why he performed so well.
Now, the one thing I will say is that when it comes to his offense, I don't know how many more weapons you need, how many more weapons you can put around him. You've got the best running back combo in the country or in the league. You've got Jarvis Landry, who's an amazing receiver. You've got at least 2 tight ends that are legit. You have a good offensive line. So it was just him needing to be in his space and put it all together to actually take that next step and perform, because the organization has put everything that they can behind you. A stout defense, weapons on offense, protection on the offensive line. The only thing that's sad is that Joe Thomas is not there to, the left tackle for the Browns that was there for fucking ever. He's not there to enjoy this. That's the only downfall. That's the only downfall of this team. The one question I have with this team is, and I think you're going to know where I'm going with this 2Ks, is they did all of this without OBJ.
Yeah.
I mean, is he? He's obviously a great talent. He's one of the top receivers in the league when he has his shit straight, and it's just a question of, does he have his shit? I mean, which version of him are you going to get? And was this addition by subtraction? And if it was, I mean, you have a great trade piece in the offseason. Or do you bring him back and see what type of OBJ you get? He's been off with was it an Achilles or an ACL that he tore, and it seemed like as soon as he went out, the whole dynamic of the team changed, and
Yeah.
that offense just started
Yeah.
hitting on all cylinders. So again, like we
No,
talked about with
I
the
think it goes.
Rams, there's going to have to be a lot of talk when it comes to that in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think it goes. I think a lot of people are going to just say, well, they were a better team when Odell was off the field, and it's hard to argue that. I mean, obviously, yeah, they were better, but I think people the first thing they want to do is they want to knock Odell for it. Well, Odell's not as good as what people say, or he's not a superstar receiver, and I mean, let's not go too far now. I mean, we're talking about one of the most talented receivers in the league, one of the most athletic. Big play waiting to happen with Odell. I think there's a problem with Cleveland. It's kind of what you said earlier about them having everything around them. They're surrounded by all these great players, these two running backs. You got Jarvis Landry, you got Odell Beckham, you got two tight ends, you got everything around them. And I think that for a young quarterback like Baker Mayfield, that's hard to manage all those those names. You want to get Chubb his carries, you want to get Kareem Hunt his carries. And then you want to get, you got to make sure I get 7-8 balls out to Odell, and I got to make sure I get 7-8 passes to Jarvis Landry. That's hard to do for a guy like Baker Mayfield being in his third season. Last year he was trying to do it also with all those names, and it's only his second season. That's hard to do. I look at like the situation that Tom Brady's in right now with Tampa, and Tom Brady's never had this type of talent around him. As far as
similar. Very similar.
Rob Gronkowski and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette and all the names around him. But we're talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady, the way that he plays, it doesn't matter what the name is on the back of your jersey or what number you have. He's going to throw it to the open guy.
Yeah.
If you're open or if you beat your guy on that, he's going to throw it to you. And we're talking about a veteran that's played 20 seasons in the league. That stuff kind of comes along. That Tom Brady in his second, third year of his career would not have been able to play on the stage of what the Browns have surrounded Baker Mayfield by, as far as having all those big names. So I think that's a very hard job that Baker was given as far as having those big names. And the first thing you want to say is on paper, that team is great. But when you actually step foot on the field and you have all those high egos, I mean, you're dealing with great players. So obviously, great players comes with an ego. And you're trying to keep everybody happy. That's a very hard thing to do. So, yeah, I think the best thing for Baker this year was obviously the injury to Odell, because it allowed Baker to kind of just relax and sit back and say, all right, I'm going to throw it to the guy that's open. And then Cleveland, obviously, with the running game, it made it easier for Baker is because we're going to run the ball and then, kind of look to pass second. So, yeah, but no knock it out. You can't knock Odell on this either. I mean, he's still one of the best receivers in the league, and wherever he goes, he's a big play waiting to happen.
No, and I wasn't trying to insinuate that it was his fault. It was just the circumstance that is what it is right now. And where do they move forward without him? Do they bring him back? That's like I said, getting back to the Rams and their decisions in the offseason, this is going to have to be one of theirs. So yeah, we're on the AFC side, 2Ks. We're looking at the Bills at the Chiefs, because obviously the Chiefs are the number one seed on that side. Just give me your quick 60-second thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, leading into this game, I really thought the Chiefs were just going to kind of pull away with it, win it easy, and what the fuck? I guess my first question is, what the fuck are they running an option with Patty Mahomes for?
Yeah,
you're putting him in that situation for this injury, and now he's a question mark. He's a question mark if he's going to be ready. I just think that let Mahomes do what he does best. Let him drop back and just build football to all the great receivers that you have on your team, and just win the game instead of trying to do some fucking college football option bullshit. And I get it, they scored a touchdown earlier in the game off of that same type of play, but you can't. You were the better team. I think everybody kind of knew that Kansas City was going to take care of Cleveland rather easily. So there was no reason to run anything like that. Just do let Patty Mahomes throw his normal 3 touchdown passes and win the game and move on to the next week.
Yeah, and that all signs are pointing that they will get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back. So to me that's going to be
Huge. That's huge for them.
That's going to be the linchpin for me, because getting back to, like, we were talking how the Bills are going to be built. They have to run the ball to beat the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to have to run the ball to keep it away from Josh Allen, especially if it gets towards each team in the 40s or each team in the 30s. It's going to be whose running backs are going to be able to perform down the stretch to milk the clock and to get things done. And if Helaire's back, I give the Chiefs a huge, huge bonus. Le'Veon Bell, nah, I'm all right with him not even playing. Dexter or Williams, I can never remember which D it is, because they've had like 3 running backs with D Williams on the back, but he actually was very, very efficient today. But the Helaire coming back, if he is able to go, is going to be huge, and I think he's going to be the difference maker in the game. Let's just leave it at that. That's my prediction. 2K crew. That's my prediction. Yes, I'm being a bitch and not choosing a game or choosing a team, but we'll get to that next week. Well, 2Ks, let's roll into the Bucks and Saints, and like I said, that one is currently underway with the. Whoops. Let me turn my camera on here. Please hold. But that's one that is currently underway right now. And there I am. We have a score of 20-13 Saints, with the Saints driving with about 5.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Kind of seen some ups and downs on this one. We've seen Drew Brees throw a pick. We've seen Tom Brady almost throw a couple. Defenses, obviously, for the Saints, this whole season has just tormented Tom Brady. I think they said that he got sacked like 19 times during the season, and 6 or 7 of them were from the Saints. So, granted, that was 2 meetings. And the last time we saw these two teams match up in Tampa, the Saints just made Tom Brady look fucking silly. It hasn't been that case that case today. It has been 2Ks. I honestly thought that would continue, and I thought that the Saints would kind of mop TB12 up, but that's maybe just me being a TB12 hater. But I have to admit the Bucks did play a whole lot better coming down the stretch. I think they were 5-0 coming into this game, so obviously TB12 or Tampa Tom or whatever the fuck people call him now. That the offensive line is playing better, and we even saw Jameis Winston throw a touchdown pass, which, if you had that on your bingo card, you are fucking lucky, because looks like Saints just had a fumble. So I totally missed the play, but I just saw the Buccaneer defender start running with the ball, so that is not good if you are a Saints fan. And yes, it does look like that is a fumble. That is a fumble, ladies and gentlemen. But I honestly thought that, first of all, never thought Jameis Winston would come into this game, but Taysom Hill is out. But yeah, kudos to Sean Payton for drawing that one up, because I think I could have thrown that touchdown pass. But so that's my initial thoughts. I thought that the Saints would just continue to dominate, even though, to quote Randy Moss, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a season, which, you can take Randy Moss's advice however you want to. However, I think this one is actually kind of legit. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this game kind of, so far, it has kind of shocked me a little bit. I thought kind of going into the day, just going off the first 2 times that they played against each other, it just was dominated. I mean, the Saints dominated them. As far as I thought the defensive pressure that the defensive line for the Saints would be able to get on Brady, and Brady wouldn't really be able to do anything. And so far tonight, Tampa's kind of had an answer for that, and have given Rick Brady a little bit of time to be able to make something happen. I still think, looking forward, I think the Saints will win this game.
Yeah, you know me, I'm not the like I've already said, I'm not the biggest Tom Brady fan. I was actually hoping that TB12 would miss the playoffs. However, this was his first time as a wild card team, which to me, I think Tom doesn't really give a fuck if he's the. Granted, you always want the bye week, but other than that, I really don't think Tom cares, especially with his playoff resume.
Uh,
I mean, he just wants to play in the playoffs. He doesn't care how many times he has to play to get to the Super Bowl. That's what he does. But yeah,
yeah.
let's
I mean, and it's really hard to bet against them. I mean,
yeah, it really is.
I personally believe that the Saints will win this game, but if Tampa wins tonight, it's not gonna shock me one bit. Like, how do you really bet against Brady at this point in the playoffs? I mean, the guy he just wins, whether you like him or not. You have to respect what he's done throughout his career.
Nope,
The guy just wins.
now to me, this game wouldn't shock me if it came down to whoever has the ball last, especially with these two guys and their game-winning drive resumes and all that other bullshit. This really could come down to a last-second field goal or last-second touchdown to bring it home. But
Mm-hmm.
so let's both of us are picking the Saints, and I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers would destroy the Saints. I mean,
Yeah, I think
I'm
Aaron Rodgers.
I'm talking
They might as well just punch their
three
ticket to the Super
scores,
Bowl.
a 3-score win. To me, that's and it's one of the cool things about this season. With we've talked about how dynamic Aaron Rodgers has been. Aaron Rodgers has been to 5 NFC Championship games, and this is his first one at home. And like I was alluding to earlier about the home field advantage, this is the biggest home field advantage in the playoffs. Whether you get Tom, who is used to playing in cold weather in New England, don't get me wrong, but how's the rest of the team? I mean, Gronk, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How's the rest of the team? They play in Tampa. It's warm. And then you get the Saints, who's a dome team. But to me, I don't think it would affect Drew Brees that much just because he's been around. He's done it. He's been around the block forever. So as far as the quarterback play is concerned, I really don't think that it would be that big of an advantage. However, it's how does the rest of the team respond? How do we some of those drops with Lazard and some of the other receivers for Green Bay. Devontae Adams came out and said that when it's cold, you tend to short arm the ball. So we even saw the Packer receivers do this. So how does this affect the trio of the Bucks receivers or the 9,000 receivers that Drew Brees throws the ball to? That's where it's going to come in. And special teams. We especially when we should have saw the Ravens losing when we saw Justin Tucker miss field goals. That should have been the ding 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 ding. There's something wrong when because he was like 11 for 11 career in the postseason, and he missed two very very makeable field goals, one off the left upright, one off the right upright, and he had the Parkey syndrome. But yeah, it's it's going to be weird to see how, because like I said, you're getting two very, even if the Saints played outdoors, it's still Louisiana, it's still warm, so you're going to see two warm weather teams going up to Green Bay, or one of the two warm weather teams go up to Green Bay, and I'm sure if Aaron Rodgers has its way, he's going to have snow, he's going to have wind, and it's going to be the Lambeau advantage. So it's going to be regardless of which team moves on. 2Ks, I'm still putting that at least a 2-score game. What do you think?
Yeah, that one's hard for me. I mean, I think if I'm a Packers fan, or if I'm the Packers, I want to see the Saints. I want to see the Saints there because the Packers kind of had their way with them. I mean, they didn't blow them out, but they kind of had their way with them that night earlier in the season and beat them. And obviously, with what Tampa did to Green Bay earlier in the season, Tampa just flat out smoked them. I mean, in every facet of the game. I know that it was week 4, week 5 of the season, very early in the season when all this happened, but And then on top of that, you talk about the cold weather advantage. Well, Tom Brady's played plenty of games and
Yeah.
won plenty of playoff games in cold weather. I mean, it's cold in New England too. Probably, I mean, it's
Hashtag
probably
tuck
not
rule.
as cold as Wisconsin,
Right.
but Brady knows everything. You know, he knows how to win games in the cold weather too. So that would be such an intriguing game to me. I mean, you talk about two of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen
Mm-hmm.
play the game, and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So to see them play against each other, and I'm not knocking Drew Brees, but I'm not ready to put Brees in that conversation as far as good
No.
as those guys.
No.
So, but and that's no knock at all on them. We're talking about two of the best ever.
Yeah.
Brees is up. Brees is right there. He's right there, but he's not you know, in the conversation as best ever. So,
I I
but
totally
yeah, I
agree.
mean,
I totally
to
agree.
I don't know if I can go as far as you know, a 2-score advantage, but it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all if that happened,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Green Bay's playing and watching Green Bay you know, here as late. Like, you can't even, like, Green Bay can't be stopped right now. Every single time that they get a drive going, and they can beat and they can do everything. I mean, it's not just Rodgers throwing the ball. They're rushing attack has been so strong for them all season long also, and having two different backs that they're using, they're a tough team to beat right now. I think I heard a stat like last night as far as like 16 or 17 straight trips down with goal line to go situations, and they've scored on every single one of them. Like that, that's
Mm-hmm.
impressive.
That's crazy.
That's a very impressive stat.
That's crazy.
You know, they're so efficient. So yeah, I just at this point I can't see Green Bay. I can't see anybody in the league beating Green Bay except for you know, the Chiefs when they get everybody healthy.
Yeah.
Because I think that Mahomes, especially Mahomes being healthy, and then obviously bringing back Hilaire also. You know, they're a team that can score with them and beat them. But at this point, Green Bay's they're the best team in the NFL. They're the team to beat.
Yeah, and if it really is, all signs are pointing towards a Green Bay Kansas City Super Bowl, and hell, you could have said that midway through the season, and
Mm-hmm.
not been wrong at all. Not been wrong at all. But if that happens, I mean, I'm stoked for it. I'm stoked for it. And you know, we do have Marcellus ties to the Packers, which is really awesome. So we can root through them or for them because of Mr. LaFleur and Brienne. So that's always that's always cool too when there's a local aspect to it as well. But even without that, man, it's I I I wouldn't even say it's going out on a limb and saying that the Packers are the best team in the NFL, and Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs are too. I mean, there's Mahomes, the Chiefs and Mahomes have played good enough to win all the games that they had. The Packers are just, the Packers seem to always have one or two games that they just take a shit on. And you take those two games out of the equation, and you take the Raiders game out of the equation for the Chiefs, and you've got two very good resumes. And if you break them down game by game, I think you're going to see that Aaron Rodgers has better stats. Aaron Rodgers probably has more touchdowns, and the Packers have beaten the teams that they should beat more convincingly. So I know normally when we talk about that, that last stat we're talking about, normally the college football playoffs, where you need to beat the teams that you need to beat, convincingly. But if you look at it with the NFL, it might be able to gauge a little better who you would take on this. But just my take. Just my take. Well, 2Ks, you want to hang around and give the folks some national title reaction, or do you need to skip out, brother?
I can talk for a few more minutes.
Okay, cool. To be honest with you, I was the one that took Ohio State, and man, was I wrong, because they were never in that game. They were never in that game. And what did I text you? Is Ohio State ever going to cover Devontae Smith? And the only way that they covered him was him going out of the game when he hurt his hand. That was the only fucking way that they
Yep.
did. And you just saw probably in I'm not gonna say it's Saban's best team ever, but definitely the best offense he's ever had because the defense throughout the season wasn't as dominant as we've seen some of the other Saban defenses. However, the defense was still pretty fucking stout. Still stout. And I'm not saying that them holding Notre Dame to 14 points was excuse me, groundbreaking by any means, but to make Trevor Lawrence in that offense look like that, my God, that was probably one of the best coached games I've ever seen Saban's staff put together. Probably one of the best. And now Sarkisian's left. You know, he's in Texas, and you see all the other subsequent some of the I'm not gonna say the vast majority, but you're seeing some of the coaches leave, obviously, for head coaching spots. Which, as a head coach, you can't really expect your offensive defensive coordinators to be there forever. But I guarantee that,
Especially Saban. I
yeah,
mean, this has been happening to Saban for forever. I mean, this has been happening to him for the last 8-9 years that he's been coaching.
mm-hmm.
It's just every year it seems like somebody's stealing 2 or 3 of his guys. So he just does what he always does. He does the same thing with all of his players. He just reloads.
Yeah, and
Every single year they just reload.
We'll see how Bill O'Brien does as the offensive coordinator. I'm actually really curious to see how that relationship works.
Mm-hmm.
If you the last time we saw Bill O'Brien, he was calling shitty offense for Deshaun Watson in Houston. So we shall see. We shall see.
But there's been a lot of names that you would think that would clash with Saban over the years. I mean, look at
Lane Kiffin.
I mean,
yeah.
no, it never worked. He couldn't get it to work with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to Alabama, and everybody kind of thought, oh, this is not going to work. Saban's not going to put up with his bullshit. And they just went. They went, and then next thing you know, not Saban, but Kiffin lands another job. He gets another opportunity, something that I think a lot of us thought he would never get another opportunity again.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing could be said for Sarkisian. Obviously there was the dumpster fire that he had at USC.
Yes.
I mean, shit, he was
Yes.
drunk. He was drunk on the sidelines at practice and shit. And then kind of comes, he did have a stint there with the Falcons in the NFL, coaching the offense there, but wasn't good there.
No.
Lost his job there, and then finds himself in Bama. And Saban gives him a chance, and now he's the head coach. Going to be the head coach for Texas. So
yeah.
I don't get it. I don't know how it works or how the culture that Saban has built there in Bama is just they just reload. They reload every single year, and they win. That's all they do. They just win.
I think you hit the nail right on the head there, 2Ks, when you mentioned culture. Because how many other programs do you have a Mac Jones, a Devontae Smith, a Najee Harris, all wait 2 and 3 years to get their chance? Most of those guys either A, would have never, if when you sign your letter of intent, usually you're expecting to play your freshman year. Yeah, you might redshirt, but if you're one of the top line guys, if you're one of the like Trevor Lawrence didn't start his freshman year, but he was thrust into out of necessity. But you look at a lot of a lot of these guys would not put up with sitting for 3 years had it not be for Saban. They get they whatever farm system he's got going on and whatever he's feeding these kids down in Alabama, he should bottle it and sell it and be a gazillionaire, because these kids wait their turn and would run through walls for Coach Saban. So when you say reload and culture, I think that the culture part is the part that gets me. And it's the culture down there that he's got set up that is unique to every single. I mean, it's the most unique recruiting spot available is Alabama, because he can convince these 5-star recruits that could start at 98% of the other colleges nationwide to come to his school, sit and wait your turn. But you sit and wait your turn, you're going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. If you go somewhere else and start, you might not get the exposure. You might not get the kind of like the farm system in baseball 2Ks. You know, the better the farm system is, usually the better the major league team is. The farm system is the kids that are sitting and training and buying into Saban's system, and the major league team is obviously the starters. So, it's something brewing. You know, it's not something brewing. It's already blossomed down there because hell, the dude has 7 national titles now. 6. It was a 6th with Bama, and the thing that separates him from everybody else is he can convince 5-star athletes to come down there and sit.
Yeah, there's only 2 other guys that can even be mentioned in the same sentence as him, and that's you think about Dabo and what he's done at Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very, very similar. And then Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer with what he did in Florida and with what he did at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Ryan Day can't be that someday, but he's not. I'm not ready to give him the credit that I still give Ohio State and why them being so relevant and them being so good here in the last couple of years. I still give all that credit to Urban Meyer.
Well, you look at how the 3 guys that we mentioned, Urban Meyer, Dabo, and Saban. Look at how long they've been doing this compared to Ryan Day. Ryan Day just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He's winning. He's winning Big Ten titles. He's getting top recruits. He just needs to do it longer. He just needs to do it longer.
I think he'll keep on winning.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that could stop Ryan Day is him potentially getting an NFL job.
Yep. You're 100% right. 100% right. And yeah, give Ryan Day a decade there, and probably in that decade he'll have 8 Big Ten titles, and yeah, he'll have I guarantee he'll get back to a national title game. I guarantee that. Excuse me. And I think too that getting back to the game, I think having that lack of games for Ohio State hurt them. I really do. They came together as a massive cohesive unit to beat Clemson, and it was that energy and hype was lost. They came out so fucking flat. And granted, the first drive against Clemson, they went 3-and-out. The first drive against Alabama, they went 3-and-out. Second drive against Clemson, they scored. Second drive against Alabama, they scored. After that, nothing. It was like Bama just. It's weird because the Bama's first scoring drive was 12 or 13 plays, and then a couple drives later, it's like 2, and then 4, and then 6, and then 12. That offense can beat you however they want. They can ground and pound, and especially if you don't cover Devontae Smith, it makes it really easy. Really easy. He had 200 yards in the first half, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Now the big question with him is, do the Jets waste a number? I shouldn't say waste. Do the Jets choose to use their second overall pick for him? I say no. The Jets have way more, and if the Jets want him, trade down and get him. There's way too many options at the second pick. Granted, I do think that I think Todd McShay has Devontae Smith like the second receiver. Doesn't have him as the number 1. But
everybody wants to knock him because of his size.
Yeah, but
will his size be able to translate to the pros and be able to what he's doing against college caliber corners? Don't get me wrong, his numbers are absolutely amazing. I mean, he's the best college wide receiver that we've seen possibly ever. I mean, as far as with the numbers, but
yeah,
is his size going to be able to translate to the pros where every single defensive back that he's going to face is going to be able to just bully him?
Yep.
I don't think that we're going to see him translate to the pros and be a number one receiver like like what we're seeing right off the bat. If ever, I just don't think we'll ever see that out of him. I mean, when you get to the NFL level, you got to have the size. Like, yeah, you can get away with all the ability and everything at the college level, but at the pro level, you can't really get away with it as far as size. So, are you going to use the number 2 pick in the draft for a fucking slot receiver in the NFL?
Right.
Absolutely not.
The only, I shouldn't say the only, the closest comparison I can make and be probably 100% legit would be Marvin Harrison. However,
Yeah.
if you look at the NFL that Marvin Harrison played in, that's a different NFL now. It's a different NFL. So I think that, yes, drafting him at number 2 is way too high. Way too high. And to be honest with you, I haven't really deep dove into this draft yet because the draft isn't until April, and I don't know how many receivers. I got to see how many receivers are coming out, and to me, the Jets have way too many other fucking problems than to draft a receiver. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's last year and you have all of that crop, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. I don't care who it is. If you're the Jets and that's what you want and that's what you need, trade down to get it. And
yeah,
you need
if you only win 2 games throughout the entire season, you have bigger issues than wide receiver.
Exactly. You need to look at how's your offensive line, how's your defensive line, is there a badass pass rusher? Yeah, obviously these are questions that are going to be answered closer to draft day because I'm pretty sure Todd McShay and the other dude are probably the only ones that have actually looked at and put big boards together. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see. But you know what? 2K's at the end of the day, it's the Jets, and the Jets draft punters and all kinds of other weird shit. So we shall see. Do they take a quarterback? Do they? We were talking about the Rams having decisions to make, and I think the Jets have even bigger decisions because do they move away from Sam Darnold? Do they? I would be completely 100% utterly shocked if the Jaguars do not take Trevor Lawrence. But if Trevor Lawrence is sitting there and you're the Jets and you do not pull the fucking trigger, the ownership needs to be shot.
There's no way that Urban Meyer well, I mean, first year coaching in the NFL, whole new gig for him. They don't have a quarterback there. There's no way that he's gonna not take Trevor Lawrence in that. I mean, you would be dumb. I mean, it would be terrible. It would be an absolute travesty not to take Trevor Lawrence number 1 in this draft.
Yeah, I really wouldn't foresee.
I don't think there's any chance.
I wouldn't foresee Meyer taking the job without having that expressly. Like this is where we're going. We want you to come in and coach Trevor Lawrence. That's pretty much that has to be part of the negotiation, you would think. But even at number 2, if Justin Fields is there, or the kid from BYU, Zach Wilson, I think I remember his name right. Do you go quarterback or do you go? To me, the Jets are so weird because it seems like every part of it, at least in Jacksonville, the defense is decent. The offensive line is decent. The quarterback position blows ass. Laviska Shenault they got one of the receivers last year, so there's weapons there. What's in New York? I don't know. The defense sucks. Their quarterback is There really aren't any weapons. Where do you go? I mean, they drafted P. Ryan last year, the running back. Okay, he really didn't do a whole lot. I couldn't name you a receiver on their team. So I don't know. But it's going to be,
Yes.
this is, but like I said, they're the Jets. They're the
Yeah.
Jets. And honestly, if you have that many needs, might as well trade down. Trade down and get more picks. Trade down and get
Mhm.
more picks. I mean, that's, and they're either that or I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how. I think when we're having this same discussion next year, 2Ks, there's going to be a lot of players and a lot of new faces and a lot of new places. Um, just because there's, especially if they keep this, keep the play. Man, Leonard Fournette is running like a beast right now. But especially if they keep the expanded playoffs and there's going to be more playoff teams, you're going to have teams. The quarterback carousel is going to run. Obviously, the coaching
Mhm.
carousel every year is going to run. So I have a feeling by the time the season starts, from the conversation we're having now till the season starts, and then even beyond when we're after then we're in playoffs next year. There's going to be a lot of teams that look very, very different from where they are right now. And I think it's more so this year than probably the past, 5 or 6 years, just because of the emphasis on A, quarterback play, B, COVID going forward, and C, just how, I have a feeling that they're the, especially like the game like today with when Chad Henne came in, backup quarterbacks. There's going to be a bigger
Mhm.
need for a legit backup quarterback, not just some fuckhead that's handling a clipboard. So I think a lot of teams tried to do that going into this year. Some of them even had like the Colts and Jacob Eason, I believe was, or yeah,
Mhm.
Jacob Eason. He never was around the team. He was like secluded in case Rivers did test positive. So they had their guy waiting. It was like no scare. There was no like, this is your job. You sit over there and don't come near us. But here's the playbook. Here's everything you need to watch. Here's what your training is, and maybe you're going to see a lot more teams do that.
Yep.
So, well, 2Ks we're at the hour 22 mark. So, any last thoughts, my friend?
No, I don't think so. I think we got it all covered.
I do too. I think we gave them it all and plus a little more. That and I have to pee. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Now we got the last 10 minutes or so of the game tonight. So see
absolutely.
what
So,
happens there.
it,
See who will be playing up in Lambeau next week.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, 2Ks have a great week. I'm sure we'll chat throughout the week. But 2K crew, I hope you have a great week too. Again, check. The frames that I put up has all of our social media. Look us up. I try to post some cool shit. So, um, everyone have a great week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.